Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike Langford. I'm an engineer, producer, and mixer. I put it at the end this time. I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. This is Let's Mix Live, the live stream show demonstrating some examples of mixing music using Pro Tools. Again, most importantly, I'm not here to show you what you should do. I'm here to show you what you could do, because there's 101 different ways we can get things sounding good when we're recording our music and mixing our music. See, Mike Patterson's here. How's it going, Mike Patterson? Where we left off, last stream, part 2, may have been either the most exciting episode of this so far. So I think we're 5 in so far, 4 or 5 in. Probably the most exciting episode so far. I spent an hour, maybe an hour and a half doing some vocal prep. Vocal prep for me is tuning and timing. Could also include comping if we're doing that as well. For anyone that's not sure what comping is when you're taking all the different parts, takes, and compiling those into one take. So if there's words you like, lines you like, you can mix and match a little bit that way to come up with the ultimate take. One of the things that some musicians, especially the ones that are self-recording, one of the big bottlenecks is figuring out when something is good enough to move on. And I mean that in the way, and again, I think of an analogy, I think of that as far as like football and end zone. If it gets in the end zone, it's good. Don't think for perfection. But some musicians, vocalists and drummers in particular, they're looking for these perfect takes. And often perfect takes don't really exist or very rarely happen. So instead of just settling on one take that overall sounds pretty good, we can take, 3, 4, 5 different takes and just grab the parts that we want. And then from there, we can add some band-aids and we can usually get what is pretty close to a perfect take for what we're aiming to do. So that can all be part of comping and prep. So comping can be part of the prep for vocals. So we did that. So I wanted to tune that up. So we did that. Took about an hour and a half, and then I'm gonna flip over here. I'm gonna flip over to look at the professional tools here. So I wanted to add, I was missing kind of some subs on the, just gonna fix my camera here. I wanted to add kind of sub frequencies to the kick drum. So what we did last time too, and took about an hour, is we laid in a trigger, made a sample. So we laid in a trigger for each individual kick drum that was there. If anyone was curious how that works. So each time our drummer hit the kick drum, we went in and laid a sample in, and we were triggering off of that. We also duplicated our snare track, and we triggered off just the actual audio track that was there. Sounds decent. If I was doing this for realsies, I would go through and probably trigger, manually trigger, lay in the samples for all the snare drum as well. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm a big fan of making sure it works all the time. So I would rather take the time. I'll throw on Walking Dead or something, and I'll just lay the samples in. And again, like if you're doing a rate for the music for a project, that's totally fine. You want to do that. If it's an hourly rate that you're doing stuff, sometimes the bands don't want to see you doing that stuff. I highly recommend, though, unattended sessions for mixing. It's okay if they want to pop by to finalize things, but for the most part, I'd rather them not be there, because they don't need to see the ugliness that can be the mix process. So where we left off, the band is called Violent Bliss. It's a Russian prog rock band, and the song is called Voiceless Siren. Just going to go ahead and turn this down. I have my music to calm me down when I get going on these things. February 21st. This is part 3 of doing this mix through. I figure I can do most of these. Again, this is kind of a new channel, new idea. I figure I can do most of these in 2 to 4 parts, because sometimes a good chunk of it is just editing, and then you kind of balance it and it starts sounding okay. And then I always find usually my 3rd or 4th sessions when I start jumping into some of the ear candy stuff that's going on, some vocal throws, some reverb stuff, some reverse stuff that's going on, just some things here and there that might make it a little bit more interesting to listen to. So where I want to pick up from, what I always do is the first time I sit down with a song for a new day is I take trusty notepad, and hopefully I always have a trusty pen nearby. And shout out to Blue Pearl Pet Hospital. Don't know where I got this from, but it's a fantastic pen. Not all pens are created equal. So I'm going to listen through from the top. I'll listen all the way through. This song is about 6 minutes long, so if you're watching the replay, feel free to skip past this, and you can get right to the meat and potatoes here of what I'm looking to do today. But I think I can get this to a point where I can kind of sign off on it. Again, I'm not always going to finish the mixes. It's just kind of get to a point where I think it sounds pretty good, and then, you know, if it was a gig, then we make sure that we can get it to the client. But for the most part, I would probably get it pretty close to where I'd feel good sending it off, and then get notes from them. Sometimes curse the notes that you get, but as long as the vocal sounds okay, then usually you're in pretty good shape. I'm going to listen through, so 6 minutes. So I will be right back. Oh, I just wanted to mention the disclaimer. I'll try to always remember to do this. Sometimes when I'm EQing in particular, or we're listening, I don't know what the levels are going to show up on your end. So if you're listening on headphones or your laptop, or a line array PA system, you know who you are. Just be mindful of that as far as the levels that are coming through on your end. I wouldn't want any damage to happen to your gear or your ear. So that's your disclaimer. Only thing I've done since last time, I brought back our 1 kilohertz tone here. We're missing the other one because it's muted on my mixer. There we go. Fun for everybody. It's just lining those back up. So that looks good on my end. So I can just hold shift, select both of those, hide and make inactive. Have those for next time. And then what I want to do, because it's a new day, new session, I'm going to go to Save As. We are the 21st of February. And then back to the first version. I save lots of stuff, lots of different versions when we're going through this. So that's my easy way of doing that. So I'm going to listen through, make some notes, and see where we get to today. I figure probably a couple hours today. And there's no one working above me right now either. It's late in the evening, so be right back.
voiceless, my calling. There is soul in you that wills.
Okay. I wanted to just save that setting on center, and of course Pro Tools with all its, okay, we just got to bring this up here. This for, if you know, then you know. We're sitting at roughly 1 second. 25% CPU usage, and Pro Tools is like, whoa, slow down. We got to save the setting on one of your plugins here. I'm not a machine. I'm a computer. So I just wanted to save that to check that. Overall, like, I'm liking how a lot of it's balanced, how it's sounding. Again, it's my opinion as my show. But listening on my NS10 speakers for a couple seconds, like, I'm liking what the kick drum's doing out of the speakers. I don't mix and work in headphones very much, so I'm still kind of figuring that out. But I'm liking what it's doing on the speakers. I could probably bring the vocals up a little bit as far as how I'm listening on the speakers, but I also, so I like for this little one to get some screen time when it can, but I use this quite a bit. It's a little USB speaker, which I do have plugged in, but it helps me with my kick drum, snare drum, and vocal levels. So as far as my notes that I made, I really should have started on a new page, but saved the trees, and I didn't think it's that many things I want to do, but I might rebalance the drums a little bit. They're sounding good to me out of the speakers. I want to work on the vocal sound a little bit more, because I just kind of got it going after it was kind of tuned up and prepped a little bit. It's sounding better. Sounded good today. Also, my ears were probably shot at the end of the last session too when we started looking at the vocal. But there's kind of a vocal chain texture thing, especially when we get over here.
I look for answers in the depths.
I think there's something we can do there. So I might kind of get a sound for that. I think we can carry that up until I wrote down 187. So until we get back over there. So we might just take those 3 chunks and make a different vocal sound for that. Also, it might, with the way that the mix goes, the way the song goes, it might kind of break it up a little bit more. And so instead of it being in 2 sections because of that that tempo change there, we might be able to kind of trick the listener into this sounding like 3 different sections, because when we change the vocal and then it brings it back around at the end of the original vocal sound. So there's that. There's a guitar focus thing in a couple spots. So I just want to put a chain together for that so that we can get the guitars a bit louder so that the focus is there. More edge on bass. So we'll see what we can do with the bass sound. Overall, it's sounding good in the speakers, but I think we can put a little bit more crunch on it because I'm loving the actual like full roundness body of the bass that's going on there. I think it's a Warwick bass. I did look at a video and there's a Warwick bass there. So mute the delays and the gaps, because when we hit some of the gaps, I can hear the delays rolling, and we just got to actually go in and manually mute them. So they're not rolling. I might look at the toms. They're not bugging me too much. I'm not going to replace those. I'm not going to augment those. And then check center, because there's another setting that I have for center, and it still wasn't doing. Center is like it's a widening, or you can kind of affect the mid side frequency. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what I'm talking about. But it affects kind of the mid-side frequencies, some of the sonics that are kind of off the speakers a little bit, so you can widen things. And I have another setting that I use on stuff all the time, but I never really thought much about it. And I was on another session a couple days ago, and I'm like, I should actually just save this to the computer so I know what it is. Because one of the things too is I did upgrade I was using a Mac Pro Tower, 2009 Mac Pro Tower forever, and I finally upgraded to one of the new M1 Mac Minis, and moving over to it was fantastic, but there's still some things I didn't really bring over because I would just import it from templates. I'm trying to not use templates. I'm trying to just presets is one thing, but templates is another. I'm trying to not kind of skirt that. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to do. So, things that I can do in headphones. Where do I want to start here? I'm thinking right now. This is my thinking phase. As far as rebalancing the drums, actually, I'm going to look at the look at my master bus, my main 2 mix bus here. I'll use a lot of different terms for things, but when it gets down to it, it's probably going to sound like jargon for a lot of people. But if you just watch and follow along, you'll get what I'm after here. So, just give me a second. Give me a second, actually. I wanted to check something. I really don't trust it in headphones, so be right back. Okay, there's a couple things I want to check there. I'm still fussing around with the balance between the actual instruments and the kick and snare drum a little bit. Sometimes it jumps out at me, sometimes it doesn't. It sounds pretty good when I've got the speakers turned up. It's just when I've got it turned down. And also in the little USB speaker that I have, when I turn it on to that, I can kind of hear it a little bit. So I'm just going to leave that alone for a bit. Let's work on some stuff that I don't need to pay that much attention to. I also know we don't have our vocals back in yet. That is a thing. I'm going to get those back in soon. I did switch my setting on center for anyone that's curious what's going on there. That's what I'm using on that right now. I just had a couple different settings, so that sounded pretty good to me. I was just checking just the, I know usually it's highly recommended to not mess with. We're just using some presets here. So some stock Pro Tools, Avid, old school DigiDesign presets here on their channel strip. It's kind of based on their aggressive snare drum or snare drum aggressive. It works on a bunch of stuff. Again, I don't lose a lot of sleep over some of those settings. Sorry, still digesting my dinner. I scarfed it down before I got going here. So some things that we can do where we're not really needing to listen too much. Again, I don't really work in headphones that often. So when we get to some of these gaps here, I want to turn off our delays. And there's two things we could do. We could turn off, I do have delays on the guitars, I do believe. Yeah, so 10 is kind of our long delay. I don't name my buses. Bus 9s are short delay, bus 10s are long delay, and bus 11s are reverb. But we could mute it here if we wanted to. So we go to guitars, if we just scroll down here and we go to that, I could mute it here if I wanted to, and we'll just put it in grid mode because we did get our tempo. So I could go to here. Oh, you're making me look like a clown, Pro Tools. I could go here and we've got our mute, and then I could just grab that and we could mute it there, but we're still going to hear it because that's still being sent to the actual long delay that's up here. So what we're going to do is go up to there and we're going to mute it. So we can see the gap that's there that should be there. So we can go up, use a trimmer tool, and we can just mute our delays there on the actual track that has our delay on it. So we'll just go through and add a couple of those. One of these ways for me to do it is just to go in and actually just manually mute stuff. Also we can do, if I do believe, we can just copy that. So Command C. And now we can just paste them in that way. So I'm just going to kind of scrub through and see what's going on with the gaps. Because I think where there's gaps with guitars, there's probably gaps that might mute the delay there. So back over here. I don't mind it there. It's subtle, but it's fine there, I think. Katie says, I would never be able to do this kind of stuff. Well, every job is this kind of stuff. Patterson's saying we can mix Katie's song. When Katie's song's done. Still working on it. And turn the music down just a touch. I don't know how loud I am compared to the music. I'm gonna put the reverb on the guitars as well. There's just something going on there with the drums that freaks me out. Okay, what's freaking me out here is the drums. The drums are just a little bit ahead. If we look at, I learned something new. Oh, it's the wrong button. What was it? Okay, I learned something new. If you hold shift and hit minus, you can further, or you can change how your grid is divvied up. So if you hit plus or equals, then it goes up to a bar. And then if you press the minus while holding shift, it will go to half notes and then quarter notes and then eighth notes and then 16th notes. I just learned that. There's like a bajillion hotkeys for Pro Tools. So it's on that. But if we see here, the downbeat of this note, okay, this is a teachable moment. The downbeat of this note is pretty much on the actual bar and beat, but it starts to get a bit quicker over here. So let's put this into slip mode. I wasn't planning on doing this, but that's where we are right now. Tab transient's still on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just before this kick drum over here. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to hit tab because what I want to do is just select this whole section here. All right. So a little bit of stuff is going on. I'm going to hit B, and this is going to break this region. Patterson says, sorry, Katie says, I love watching the process. I think it's interesting. That's why I'm here. It's interesting. I'm going to add this kick drum. I'm going to add all of this stuff right here. I'm going to make a group. So Command G. I'm going to call this drum edit because that's where we are. I'm going to hit B and behind that to break that. I'm going to hold shift option and then close bracket just to make the waveforms a little bit bigger there. I'm going to tab over, hit B again, tab over, hit B again, tab over the next transient, hit B again. You're seeing probably a pattern forming here right now because I just want to clean up this section. I feel like there's something going on here because even the downbeat of the bass is a little bit over, and there's just a few things. We can even go in and maybe grab the bass here. We're just going to break that. Let's make kind of our meetup point here. This is where we're taking music and we're just like, we're reinventing what actually happened. So I'm going to use the trimmer tool here and I'm going to add a little mark there as well. Because I think this can come back just a touch. So I mentioned before, once you start editing, it's just a can of worms. It's really just a big old can of worms. So I'm going to bring this back a little bit. And you can see there's a gap here now. So I'm going to bring this trimmer tool over. And I'm going to fade those. I'm just going to hit F. And then put a little fade on there. I'm going to go back over here. So we're going to take this section. And I'm going to move this over a little bit. So we got this in nudge right here for 100 samples. If you have a number pad on your keyboard, if you hit the plus sign, you'll just shuffle it over a little bit. What we're seeing down here too is that this sample's not moving, so we might need to move that manually. What we need to do is just pull this back. Okay, yeah, that's what we need to do. Pull this back a little bit. It should still be okay. We should still be able to live with this going. Again, this is some of the stuff that we're doing right now. It can be high risk maneuver. With like not saying mistakes, but just some things that can go wrong. So this section here, if you can see these faint lines in behind there, that is actually the grid. That's where we kind of want to be. So I'm going to pull this over, pull that over. I'm going to pull this over. Pro Tools is going to Pro Tools in a second. Yep, there we go. I'm going to pull this over. I don't need it to be nailed to the grid because we're moving it quite a bit right now. So I'm just going to pull this over, pull that over. We're just going to smooth this out a little bit because there's something about the fill there that was freaking me out. And again, if the band wanted it back the way that it was, we can easily do that. But I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what was happening. So I'm just going to pull these audio clips because we broke it. So we still have on the audio on either side of these clips. So I'm just going to pull these over a little bit and we'll sew them up in a second. When I say sew it up, I'm usually talking about fades. Again, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this stuff. This is just one way to do it. So we got that. Someone's breakdancing upstairs. It's quite loud right now. I'm going to go back to the selector tool. That all looks pretty good. I'm going to turn off tab to transient because I want to be able to just go to where the break is. So I'll just make a little cover over the break and just hit F. Just sew it up. This is all the exciting stuff that's going on. I would be listening. I know I usually say I'm usually probably watching Walking Dead or something, but these are things that... also, it's good to like make sure you're looking at all the tracks, because you'd be surprised where sometimes like one of the tracks gets kind of moved or something happens to it, and it just makes world bad place to live in. So we've just tidied up the timing on this section, so I'm going to listen to it. It's just when we came into the downbeat of that next section, it just felt like there was this gap there. Okay, it's closer. There it is. That is closer to me. So the guitars are coming in there. There's a weird gap on the guitars here too. We need to kind of look at that. Okay, so the guitars are there. I think I can pull those back just a touch. So we'll do that. Again, once you start editing, the worm can gets opened. So I think that's better. Just this fill coming up. Just want to hear how it's sounding now. Okay, I think that's closer. I think we can pull the bass over just a little bit more. I can buy that. Oh, it's so close. Give me one more second. I'm just going to pull this over just a touch. Sometimes you can just shovel over a couple of these things and it'll make it better. Okay, so the edit down here, where was it? We're hearing this down here because of where the fade is. So to fix that, we can just pull this over a little bit. I can buy that. I'm buying that. Okay, I can buy that. So we fixed some drums there. That's one way you could approach that. Again, I highly recommend to time your drums, tune your vocals for a lot of sessions. Again, it's a lot of great stuff in the session though. But it's one of those things when you start building the rest of your track on top of your drums, you can save yourself a little bit of headache if you time your drums before. I understand we want to keep the feel. We don't lose too much. We have a lot to gain though when we time our drums. That's all pretty good. 46, no, edge on bass, that looks pretty good. I'm liking that. Mute delays and gaps. We know what to do there when we hit those spots again. Check center did that. I got the box score on for the Leafs game right now. Down 1-0 to the Montreal Canadiens. Not liking that. One of the things too, if you're mixing work on stuff, your mood, real talk, your mood's gonna affect sorry, is that a message there to make sure it was not a fire? Your mood's going to affect how you work, especially how you mix. I am half joking about that, but if you're not in the right state of mind to work on some of this stuff, you're probably not going to get that much work done. That's going to be good. So I do recommend coming at this stuff from a positive mindset. So let's listen to our vocals, because when we hit here, turn off my groups. I'm going to suspend my groups I'm gonna hit Shift Command G.
I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath.
And
My
turn down
silent
the
song, my throat, my chest,
turn down the music so you can hear me.
my calling. There is only muted wind.
I'm going to turn down the delay that's there, the longer delay, because I want to kind of treat these vocals differently. I'm not minding how the vocals are sounding. I think we can add a little bit of distortion or some saturation to the vocals overall. But I'm going to change the vocal sound that's from here until over here, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to go over there with the selector tool. I'm going to hit B, so I'm going to break that just so I know that's there. I'm going to right click, or if you don't have a mouse that's able to do that, I'm using a trackball. I'm going to hold Control and then click on that, and then I go down to duplicate. Now there's two things with duplicating. It's in the class. If you go over to playlist and duplicate, this will duplicate the playlist that's there. So whatever track is here, it will duplicate that. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. But if I want to duplicate the actual entire track, I can hold Control and go down to duplicate, and this will ask you when to take the playlist, the alternate playlist, I need the automation. I'm going to turn off the actually I'm going to turn off active playlists and that and automation. I just want to bring over the insert, sends, and group assignments, and then insert it after last track, yes, and just one duplicate. So this is going to copy a empty track here. There's no audio on it. So what I'm going to do is change the name for here. I'll call this Vox with effects. No, I'm going to call that 2. I think 2, I'll know what I'm talking about if I just write 2. And again, I remember mentioning, like, always assume that you might not finish this, so name your tracks accordingly. But I'm going to double click to grab this region, double click to grab that one. I'm going to hit Command C to copy it. I'm going to press semicolon, which is how we go down tracks. If you hit P, it'll go up. If you hit semicolon, go down. And I'm going to paste that down there. I'm going to hit P, go back up. I'm going to hit Command M to mute it. So now we've brought this vocal down here onto this track. So if we make some changes to the texture here, it's pretty easy to, or even too, if there's like certain words we want it to be normal with our vocal chain, we can just make quick edits there. So I find this is a quick and easy way to do this. So I think over here is where I wanted to come back in. Yeah, and then yeah, that's where I wanted that to happen. So I just want to mess around with some vocal textures here. I love this part of the song. It's my favorite part of the song because the way the groove changes. I'm into that. I'm into that a lot. It's going to bring these both down. I just kind of got a little self-made widener that's there. I'm going to put Decapitator back on. It's a little saturation thing. Let's just, like you can usually do a lot of this stuff in the track. I'm just going to solo this.
I look for answers in the depths.
Just going to go through some presets here.
My quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind.
Patterson, what's going on with studios? I'm catching up on the chat there. I missed a lot of the chat, I do realize. Modulation, what do we want to do here? I can never really very well keep flangers, choruses, and phasers like all sorted in my mind. I'm looking for a flanger or a phaser sound right now. Phaser starts with the letter P. I'm not seeing what I was looking for. Oh, it's air phaser. That's what I was looking for. Air phaser starts with A.
I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song,
No.
my throat, my chest,
No.
my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind.
Nope, not there. That's not what I was looking for. That's okay. Right now, the client's behind you is just like, no, this all sounds terrible.
I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath.
There's a lot going on with the feedback.
My chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest.
Just messing around with a couple of things here. This is, we can just experiment for a second. I don't have any de-essers on anything either right now. That was one question. So I usually put them on my main vocal master subgroup here. But sometimes if it's like out of control, I'll put it right on the actual track. It usually doesn't bug me that much. So apparently Patterson has Katie confused with another Katie. I don't even know what's going on in the chat right now. Just give me a second. Just gonna give a second here. I am gonna throw a de-esser on here. I don't fuss over de-essers too much about what we have access to, so let's just grab this one. And we'll do this, and we'll listen. And we got tons of effects on this right now. So we're just hearing the actual S's right now.
I look for answers in the depths. I listen to
Okay, I
my
think I need to put that
quickened,
there.
aching breath,
So
my
I'm just gonna
silent
clean this
song,
up.
my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I
Give me a
listen
second.
to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching. For answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quickened, aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath. My silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick.
Pro Tools. It's still there. It's still there. It's still thinking. Just give it a minute. Sometimes it legit needs a minute. Even when it says it's not responding, sometimes you just got to give it a little bit longer. I thought the wheel stopped. Sometimes when the wheel stops, it means it's better. Sometimes it's not, so. Just give it another couple seconds here. Just Pro Tools. It was just trying to do like one thing. That's what it does. All right, 7:55. Let's just have a little quick check here to see how long this is going to take here. So what we're going to do is just, if you get stuck, escape option in command, and then just go to force quit. And then we'll force quit that. I've just got my screen hidden right now because I don't really know what's going on with the desktop here. So, okay, so this is going to take us back to 7:47. Last time I manually saved. The other save is at 7:50, so it's probably not too much there. So I was just kind of farting around with the what's it called? With some sound effects that were there. 2-0. Leafs versus Montreal right now. Sometimes it's just like there's a giant reset that has to happen too with Pro Tools. And usually it doesn't crash this often. The last 2 episodes it's crashed, so. I think it's super unhappy right now. I'm just going to do a hard restart here. So it's pretty grumpy right now. If any questions in the chat, let me know. I think Patterson's trying to figure out which Katie he's talking to. Let's going to see if there's anything else in here that I missed. Nope, just chaos. Just chaos like usual. Pro Tools crashing's not uncommon, so I'm just doing a hard restart here. Well, not a hard restart yet. I've actually just done like a normal restart and see if we need to actually do like a hard restart where I actually go over to the machine and restart it. For anyone that uses Pro Tools, you know the feeling right now, and it just is what it is sometimes with this program. I don't know why it crashes this much when we're streaming though, because usually it's fine when I'm working the other other 162 hours of the week. So it's like grumpy. 1 second. I wonder if we can get sponsored by Pro Tools sometimes. I wonder if Avid will sponsor the show. All right, we'll be back in a second here. But that being said, with vocal sound, sometimes you can spend a long time just kind of figuring a sound and a tone that you want to run with, especially if you're working on an EP or an album or something where you've got a whole bunch of songs. It can be a little bit of a thing to just find your tone for the record, and then once the band likes that, then you can bring it across the rest of the songs as well. And there's elements of the vocal that I like, because I do like the vibe of the vocal, like the emotion of the vocal in this track I think is great. But there's a couple elements about it where just like trying to find the tone that fits in with the band. For me, it's just a little bit of searching going on still. So, and some of my go-tos, sometimes like they work, and sometimes you need to finesse them for a little bit to figure out if they're going to work or not. So, and again, like if you're working on several songs, then once you kind of hit a point where once you kind of hit a point where you're happy with it and the client or the band or the artist is happy with it, you can just string that across a whole bunch of things. So all right, Pro Tools is still pretty unhappy. I like how it's like, do you want to send this out to Pro Tools for, what's it called, for like the crash report thing? And it's like, their servers got to be on fire trying to deal with crash reports. So all right, so the actual session file doesn't want to open, so we'll just go and open Pro Tools like normal, see if that works. I'm actually not stalling right now. I'm actually just trying to get Pro Tools to open again. All right, there's a start. It's opening. The odd time I will actually like go and open one of the session file backups, but it is really hit or miss sometimes when Pro Tools wants to crash. So hopefully this doesn't become one of like the usual moments for these live streams where we're dealing with crashy Pro Tools. Because you can easily lose, 5, 10, 15 minutes super easily waiting for Pro Tools to kind of get up running again. Again, if you're running hourly and the band's looking for deep discounts when this stuff happens. So I think we're back. Okay, I think we're back. We are back. So I'm going to do this. Give me a second. I wanted to listen inside the headphones, but it was Pro Tools. So be right back.
I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voice, my calling. There is soul in you. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is soul in you that will. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is soul. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is soul in you that will. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is soul in you. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath, my silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath. My silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath. My silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quick and aching breath. My silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my calling. There is only muted wind. Still looking back, no one is right. Hungry for life, and full of pride, just hesitation. This simple just with oblivion, jumped out with melodies and charm. No other weapon wills, no doubt the stinger like the simple burns. Your will, your grip, that's within us. But what if silence is more better?
All right, there's some stuff. There's some stuff in there that I like now. I think it's in a little better. I was listening quite a bit on the little USB speaker, and then listening loud just to kind of see where it's sitting there as well. I can live with what's going on there. Again, sometimes you just gotta fuss with it for a bit. For my experience, again, whether you think it sounds good or not, my experience, sometimes I just gotta fuss around with it, step away from it, come back with fresher ears and listen to it again. But I think it's sounding okay. I did end up so I had to redo a lot of stuff that I didn't end up saving because when it crashed, it missed like 5 minutes. I did end up putting the de-essers at the top of the chain again. Usually I put my corrective stuff up there. I usually just put my de-esser on my actual mix, my vocal subgroup. But it was bugging me enough that I kind of wanted to put that there. I did add the chorus back on. I put the chorus before Decapitator, which is a saturation plugin there. Sometimes I'll move that back and forth, like put the chorus after or put it before, because sometimes moving those effects around can make a huge difference. So just leave yourself some space there. We got a lot on the actual chain here right now, so people are probably freaking out at home, but it's sounding okay. I can live with it. So I kind of want to listen through with the effects that we got on here. And this is where our vocals are sitting. So I'm going to hop out of the headphones again. It's going to be a lot of that today. Hop out of the headphones so I can kind of listen on the little speaker here just to get a vocal balance and see where we're at. Be right back. Okay, couple things. Diesel's here. How's it going, Diesel? I know I've been listening through quite a bit because that's what happens sometimes when you're listening and you're just kind of poking away at things. So one of the things that I did do, similar to the vocal, where we changed the texture up here, so we just duplicated the track and just brought down the audio clips that we wanted. I did the same thing with a couple parts with the guitar here, where I just wanted it to be a bit louder. Instead of automating it, I'll just put on another track and just turn it up. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't work, we automate it. Sometimes fading, doing some longer fades and stuff too to get in and out of these spots can help as well, because they're completely in phase. It's the same effects on both of them, I do believe. We're talking about guitars up here. So because they're completely in phase, you can just turn them up by just adding another duplicate of it. That works. Still fussing around with some of the drums. I'm liking the way the vocals are sitting. Again, it's for me. But one thing I did want to do is I did want to, it wasn't jumping out at me, but I wanted to add sometimes I do a back bus with the drums, but it's fine. But I wanted to add my own reverb, my own room on the drums. We do have room sounds over here. But I was curious to make my own, so I can show you kind of how, or again, show you what you could do, not what you should do. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a new track here. So Shift Command N. The hotkeys, if I hold Command and hit down, I can make an aux input. And if I hit to the right, I can make it stereo. And if I hit Tab, I can go over to name it. So we'll call this drum room. Yeah. That looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bus 1 and 2 over to it. So all our drums are coming out bus 1 and 2. So I've got bus 1 and 2 for my main drums here, and then for my room here. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my actual drum subgroup here. I'm going to put it in solo safe. For my drum room here, if I hit play, we hear some drums. We don't hear what's going on over here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just bring those over as well. I don't always do this, right? I make sure it's the same track, same plugins on everything. But let's go for just go for the lovely reverb here, because we've got other ones too, but I'm not too fussy about it. So 100% wetness on the mix here. And I don't like lose too much sleep over some of the sounds, which probably freaks some people out. Another thing we can do is just go over and see what our main drums are. We could use this. We're actually pretty close because it's over here. It's 1.1 seconds. Over here, what did we end up with? 1.1 seconds. Go figure. I know Parm said no pre-delay on reverbs, but in the headphones, it sounds okay over here. And what we can do, I'm curious. Oh, that's coming out the other reverbs that are there. Okay, I already know that's too much. Let's tone that down a little bit. That might be okay. Might be able to live with that. Be right back.
slowly decay. They run away. Eternity. Body strong, mind I know, face of porcelain. Gentle grief, deadly charm, your certain fate. This primal want, unreal to satisfy. I look for answers in the depths. I listen to my quaking, aching breath. My silent song, my throat, my chest, my voiceless, my call.
Sometimes you go to save, and sometimes because W is right above save, it'll close Pro Tools. There's no "Are you sure?" anything. Whatever.
See sometimes impartial might not forgive. Seas might not forget. Not forget.
Okay, there's things I like. There's things I'm still kind of fussing with. But where we're at right now, so we're still an hour and a half in. If a client was here, they'd be freaking out. They'd be like, this is going to take forever, sort of thing. But a lot can come together pretty quick. Still fussing around with kick and snare drum a little bit, but that's fine. Those are minor things. There's some vocal sounds. I'm like an overall, it's again, sometimes I just need to step away from for a bit. I don't have time to do that because we're doing this live. Did the guitar focus thing, edge on the bass did that, muted the drums and gaps. Guitars, can't read my writing. 97 texture for the vocals did that. Toms are fine. Check center, did that. So there's some vocal throws that I wanted to add in here. So there's a little bit of some tricks that we can figure out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to make a new track here. So we could also do it the old-fashioned way. You can go up to new. Excuse me. We could go to aux input. I usually call it vocal throw. So what we're going to do is we just want to turn on our delay in just a few spots. So let's find an empty bus here. 13 looks like a good one. Lucky 13. I'm going to put it in solo safe. So I'm going to hold command and hit the S there for solo. That way, if we're soloing anything, it's still going to be running. Let's find a delay here. Let's find something a bit different. So we usually use just the mod delay stuff. So where is it? Let's try H delay. H delay, that might be good. It's pretty good sound and delay. Let's just find, what do we have in here? What do we have in here for delays? Some classics. Basic stereo lo-fi. That sounds pretty good. Let's put this on quarter notes. I actually don't know what it's going to be set at right now. Like, we're really just pulling this out of the magical preset hat right now. I just like how HDLA looks. Like, I think it's a good looking plugin. The graphic user interface looks pretty good on that one. Okay, so there's a few spots I'm pretty sure I want to throw some throw delays. So again, in the before times, but in the prior times to that, when we were mixing analog, which I didn't really do, if you needed to actually add like a real-time effect for like a delay or reverb or something like that, someone actually have to turn the knob or move the fader sort of thing when we just want to affect a certain place. So that was kind of manual automation, if that makes any sense at all. But we can do that with automation here. So we're just going to go to our main vocal track here, that's the wrong drawer we're looking in right now. So our main vocal track, and bring that down. We're looking at volume right now, but let's go look at, we're going to add bus 13 because that's what we'll be sending. I'm just going to turn this all the way up right now so we can see it. That is what we'll be sending. I'm going to move that on the proper track because that is what we'll be sending to the actual H delay here. So see how wacky this sounds. So pretty crazy. So that's salty sounds. Maybe we can do that there. So I'm just dropping in. Drop it on that word there. So if we go over here and go to bus 13, and what I like to do usually is I'll just mute it. So if I mute the actual bus, you'll see the line drop down, so that's fully muted. So if I use the trimmer tool, I can unmute it, aka not muted, and then it'll send whatever level we're set at over to the throw. This is one way of doing it. You can also use just volume to send over to the delay. Because you don't want it going the whole time, but maybe just on the end just to fill that gap. Too loud. I can live with that. Same thing there, we can do that. See how it sounds. Yeah, could be a thing. Maybe just grab both of those. Hear that sounds? Nope, don't like that. Yeah, we're just showing you what you could do. So that one too, maybe what we could do is actually add our delay throw on that as well. So we still have access to it. So let's put bus 13 over there as well. The bands usually hate all this stuff. Like it's just, you try to do some neat stuff that they hear on other records and they're like, oh, it sounds weird. It's too loud. And then they'll show you something and you're like, it's like same thing, but it's loud. Might be able to just fill some of these gaps here. Buy that stuff there. Probably fill that gap there. Just curious.
Just when oblivion jumped out with melodies and charm.
Pro Tools.
Just when oblivion.
Sometimes you can just do a little sneaky fade here to kind of get from one tone to the other. So I'm just trying that. I think we can throw our delay over there again. We're kind of throwing this around willy-nilly right now. Sometimes you need fresh ears on it when you're just listening, going, is this adding or is it taking away? Because if it's taking away, just undo it.
Just when oblivion jumped.
It's a bit quiet.
Just when oblivion jumped out with melodies and charm. No other will reveals, no doubt just stinging like the sinful thirst. Your will, your grip, that's within but what silence is more
This whole section here, we can probably... There's something going on there because I got the amount of feedback and modulation and stuff going on there. Might be cool. Might not. I don't know. All right, something kind of cool I think happened with the delays, but I'm gonna have a listen again through without the headphones on, because yeah, it's getting a bit there. I probably was listening pretty loud at the very beginning, but I'm just gonna have a listen through from the top, and there's a couple more things I want to add, like Golf House, because it just does some magical things to the mix. So, excuse me, still dealing with the after effects of dinner. It was delicious. Chicken, Brussels sprouts. I'm just gonna listen through kind of loud again, just because it's fun over here and it's my show. I'll be right back.
The silent sleepy moon is rising high from the lonely deepest purple seas. Just the wind and waves and the air with salty sounds. In the waters of the sea, in painfulness and bliss. But the sea sometimes impartial might not forgive. Seas might not forget. You slowly decay. They rode away, lonely for eternity. Body strong, mind and no face of porcelain. Gentle grief, deadly charm, your certain fate. This primal want, unreal to satisfy.
Okay, so there's a lot going on there. I'm liking how it's sitting overall. There's still a few things that I'd fart around with. When I added Golf Fuss on, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but when I added Golf Fuss on there, definitely just does something to the top end. It just tightens it up. It just cleans it up a little bit. It's magic, whatever this thing does. And I usually just have my kind of start setting there where recover and tamer at 50, and I kind of just adjust those to taste, and then whatever bias does. I'm sure someone's laughing right now, whatever this big spike is right here, why it's doing that, but whatevs. It's sounding pretty good over here. As far as what I would do next time, so we're 2 hours into this. As far as what I would do next time, is it 5-0? It is 5-0 Montreal versus Toronto right now. I should have had to take a trip to Montreal. Seems like they needed a 1-game contract to come in and save the day. Things that I would look at, just a few kind of finicky vocal moves, but also listening to the vocals with fresh ears. Because there's times when I like it. There's a couple times with that kind of textured, effecty one where we got Decapitator and chorus on there. Or either reel it back a little bit or just kind of fine tune. There's a couple frequencies that jump out a little bit, but overall I thought it was sounding decent over here. So I might end it around there tonight because I think overall it sounded pretty decent. We're back here Thursday again. I'm trying to do Mondays at 7 p.m., Thursdays at noon p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I might have one more little chip at this, or I might switch to another song. I haven't decided yet because I figured do between 2 and 4 parts per song, because sometimes you're just doing a whole lot of editing. Because again, last time we spent the whole session prepping vocals and doing some sound replacing, not sound replacing, but just putting triggers in so we could do the kick drum off that, or trigger the kick drum off the samples. Diesel saying can always depend on you for hockey updates. Oh, I know. It's one of those things. It stings right now. It's one of those things that stings right now. But yeah, overall, I think this is sounding okay. If you think it sounded decent, throw in the comments. If you think it sounds like trash, you can throw that in the comments too. One thing that I would say too, just because again, here we want to talk about some of the real life things of mixing. You're not going to hit them all out of the park, and sometimes you're going to get a handle on some things, and sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out to get the sound that's in your head to come out the speakers with what you have to work with. So that's important as well. But again, when you're sending something to somebody, when you're sending it to a client, to a band, to an artist, or whatever, or whoever, sorry, it's not whatever. You wouldn't be sending it to like a chair or like a bowl of plastic forks or something like that. But the idea when you're sending to someone, you need to be able to stand behind it and feel good about it, or don't send it out. But that being said too, you need to know when it does sound good to you and how to kind of get it there, and when you might need a bit more time. Yeah, because you can try to get, we talked about it earlier, you can try to aim for perfection and never ever get there. And other times you can kind of like get it where you think it sounded pretty good, but you're just like, you start second guessing yourself. And fresh ears the next morning, so valuable. Another reason why I wanted to do an evening session, so we can half jokingly avoid Zoom meetings with our workplace because we work from home now. And then also do a Thursday morning one, which is the noon one. That way I can get fresh ears on it and get a listen that way. So I don't know. I'll think on it. I'll think on it if I want to start a new song on Thursday or if I want to kind of wrap this one up. Because I don't want to hop on here and be like, yep, sounds good. See you later. And it'll only be like 15 minutes. There's always stuff to work on. And again, if you are looking, okay, 1 second. I'm just gonna wrap this up here. So I did 6 different versions today of this. Whenever I think something sounds decent, I just save as. I made a hotkey for it, so I can just hit Shift Command S and bring that up instead of having to go over here. If you'd like me to show you how to do that, I can make a quick video showing how to do that. One of the things I do before I save is I hit Shift Command U, Shift Command B. If there's any unused regions in the session, that will bring them up and you can remove them, not delete them, but you can remove them, and then you won't be copying that stuff over. But so we can make our backups here. Go to Save Copy In, go all audio files. You want to copy all that stuff. Go to OK, go here, and I just put BU an underscore for the backup there, and then I hit Save. This is going to copy everything in the session to what should be another drive. If you're copying it to the same drive and that drive should fall down the well, then you are in trouble. So I think we're in pretty good shape today. I'm liking this tune. I'm loving the bass on it still. I think that's my one of my favorite things about this song is the bass that's on there. It's just so rumbly. And I know upstairs, I know my lovely wife can definitely hear it. Katie's saying, thanks for the stream. Have a great night, Mike. Have a great night, Katie. Katie's also saying, I think it sounds great. Well, I'm glad it sounds great over there. Again, there's the imposter syndrome where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. And then there's other times you're like, no, I think that sounds pretty good. But you're still nervous to send it to a client or anything like that. So I will say, it's one of those things, like, I know Violent Bliss is on the internet. They do have a Facebook page and stuff like that. And when I was getting ready to go live last time, who knows, they might even watch this, but I was ready to go live last time. I'm like, I'm gonna do some vocal prep today and do some drum stuff, and I was gonna tag them, and I'm like, I don't know if I want them in the session. I think it might be weird if they're in the session. And I'm like looking at stuff because they have released this song. And my lovely wife brought it up on Spotify, and I kind of politely ran out of the room because I didn't want to hear it, because I didn't want it to influence what I was doing here, because that can make things really weird if you heard something that was released and you're working on something and you start taking stuff into consideration. It's one thing to listen to it's one thing to listen to a reference mix from the band, which I haven't even listened to that in a while. Next stream, I'll do that Thursday. I'll get fresh ears on it Thursday, and I'll listen to the reference that's there, because there is a reference there too, and that's always kind of like a moment when you're working on something, so you're like, okay, where's mine versus where's the reference? Because the reference in the actual multi-tracks that we have, that is fair game. But if someone's released something already, for what I'm wanting to do here, where we can just kind of explore some of these multi-tracks and just kind of a look at them, again, just from my perspective, I don't want to listen to the released one, sort of thing. So Diesel say, another successful session, great stream. Thank you very much for stopping by, Diesel. Much, always appreciated. I was going to say one more thing. Oh yeah, so these multi-tracks, I get questions. Where did you get these multi-tracks? I did not record them. There's a website. The link is below if you're watching the replay on YouTube, or the present play on YouTube. It's from Cambridge Music Technology. There's tons of genres. There's tons of bands. There's tons of studio recordings, electronic bass stuff, live recordings, everything from indie to metal to funk to jazz, with and without vocals. It's all there. So if you're an engineer and you're curious to see some of these, if you're a mix engineer and you're curious to have stuff to practice on, highly recommend going through there. So that's where I'm pulling these sessions from, because there's so much awesome stuff on there. And if I was, younger, if I was a younger 27 than I am right now, I would love to have access to some of these to mess around with. So that's where I'm getting these for educational purposes. So do recommend checking those out if you are on the engineering side of things and mixing side of things. There's lots of fantastic stuff in there. So I will quit my rambling. I think I got a third period to watch. I'm starting to get some messages from friends, because sometimes when I watch a Leafs game, the Leafs don't do so well. So maybe if I actually watch the Leafs game, they'll do well. Maybe today is opposite day. Who knows? Once again, my name is Mike Langford. I am an engineer, producer, and mixer based out of Toronto, Ontario. And this has been Let's Mix Live, where we explore some Pro Tools sessions, and not here to tell you what you should do, but what you could do. It's all it gets down to. There's 101 different ways to make stuff sound good. That's my time for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.